Welcome back to the Graham Stephan Show, and I want to talk about this TEDx talk that's absolutely breaking the internet lately. It's just titled, How the US is Destroying Young People's Future. And if you don't believe me in terms of how mind-blowing this one is, the top comment is, don't think I've ever heard a TED crowd more uncomfortable. The clapping is skim, and you can almost feel the tension. The absolute balls on this man to create a presentation like this, and then give it to the very counterparty causing all the issues within it. Truly incredible. LMFAO. So with that said, I want to comment on it as soon as you hit the like button and subscribe, because this is one of those videos that could change the way that you see a lot of things. Enjoy.
I start us with a question. Do we love our children? Sounds like an illegitimate question, right? Well, I'm going to try and convince you otherwise. Essentially, as we go down generations, we're seeing that for the last 2 generations, people are making less money on an inflation-adjusted basis.
Let's pause this. Pre-tax income, grandparents, at 25 years old, adjusted for inflation, $74,000 a year. Today, it's $56,000 a year, which seems, I don't want to say it seems high, but it seems as though like earning $56,000 a year at 25 years old seems pretty, well, I guess, you know what, that's about average for 25. But then again, at 25 years old today, you're also graduating with, chances are, a lot of student loan debt, very unaffordable housing, and expenses have gone up dramatically higher than incomes have. So that's one of the big problems here.
The social contract that is now no longer in place, and for the first time in the U.S.'s history, a 30-year-old is no longer doing as well as his or her parents were at 30. As a result, people over the age of 55 feel pretty good about America, but less than 1 in 5 people under the age of 34 feel very good about America.
See, I would be curious how this survey would do back in like the 1970s, 1960s. Would it still be that the ages 55 plus of that time felt better about America than the 18 to 34 crowd back then? Do you get more proud of your country as you get older? Or is it something that younger people are just so discouraged that their wages aren't keeping up with inflation, that housing is getting expensive, that food is getting more expensive, and it feels just impossible to get by for so many people? Is that it? Or was it always something that older people just felt like they had it better? I don't know.
A decent proxy for how much we value youth labor is minimum wage, and we've kept it purposely pretty low. If it had just kept pace with productivity, it'd be about $23 a share, but we've decided to purposely keep it low.
Now, okay, so I will counter back on that, just slightly. In terms of productivity, we can't ignore that the computer has skyrocketed productivity. And so you're able to get so much more done with a computer than you would with someone just working manually, writing something out instead of typing, going and scanning files instead of doing everything online. Like, productivity is able to exponentially increase in a way that doesn't cost more money. Like right now, you could watch this video for free with internet that's probably costing you anywhere between $30 to $100 every single month, or could be even included in your phone plan for like $30 a month. You're able to reach so many more people, whereas, you know, back in the 1980s, when you saw that productivity really started to ramp up, this would be a television show. The amount of money it would take to get behind something like this would be insane. It would never get greenlit, okay? Because there'd be, sitcoms that would take this space instead. So productivity is able to go up, and of course it makes sense that minimum wage is not going to keep up with that, just because we're able to get so much assistance with computer technology. And I'm sure in the future, that productivity is going to go even up. It's going to increase exponentially beyond this, just because of AI. So that's my take. Productivity is going to go up. Minimum wage is probably going to stay probably the exact same, if not increase slightly with inflation.
Median home price has skyrocketed relative to median household income. As a result, pre-pandemic, the average mortgage payment was $1,100. It's now $2,300 because of an acceleration in interest rates and the fact that the average home has gone from $290,000 to $420,000.
Why doesn't anyone ever mention interest rates? When they look at home prices back then, interest rates were like 15 to 18% at their peak. Some people were taking out 20% interest rates back in like I believe it was the early 1980s when this happened. When inflation went through the roof, inflation was, 11, 12% a year. Mortgage rates for some people were hitting 20%. So yeah, home prices relative to incomes were low, but mortgage interest rates meant that it did cost more money per month relative to how much the home cost. A few years ago, interest rates were at 2%. So comparing a house price at 2% versus comparing the house price at 15%, you're going to have wildly different numbers. Now, not as much as the divide currently stands, all things considered, but it does play a factor.
When I applied to UCLA, the admissions rate was 76%. Today, it's 9%. I received a 2.23 GPA from UCLA. I learned nothing but how to make out of household items in every line from Planet of the Apes. And the greatest public school in the world, Berkeley, decided to let me in with a 2.27 GPA.
You know why? You know why that happened? Because government decided to subsidize student loans. They started to pump out student loans so fast. They give loans to anybody who wants a loan. They're like, there you go, there's a loan. So what do colleges do in response to that? Well, they raise prices because all of a sudden they get an influx of applicants who all have the loans to go to college. So when they get so many applicants, prices go up. Because government backstops all these loans, they could charge more money. So that, I feel like, is a major issue, is government saying, hey, we want to invest in education. Good thinking, right? So we want to subsidize loans. And that's where it gets dicey. When an 18-year-old can sign on the dotted line, take out $50,000 in student loans, for what? What do they get for that? I don't think that a lot of colleges give $50,000 worth of value. And 4 years of your time. Just think, if you invested that 4 years in a career, in starting businesses, in networking in other ways, how far ahead would you be not being bogged down by student loan debt? I don't know.
Any university that doesn't grow their freshman class faster than population, that has over $1 billion in endowment, should lose their tax-free status because they're no longer in higher education. They're a hedge fund offering classes.
See, that is true, I agree with it, but Harvard has also built their reputation on scarcity. It's the fact that everyone wants a degree from Harvard. It's seen as very prestigious, but so few people can actually get accepted to it. And so having a degree from Harvard actually means something. It holds weight. And if you actually looked and compared that with just a college degree in general, college degrees have lost a lot of their weight and importance because everybody has it. But not everyone has a degree from Harvard. And that's how they're able to keep some of that mystique alive.
What about wages, right? They've gone up. Well, if you compare them to the S&P, they barely register. It's been an amazing time to own assets, but your attempt to get the certification or the income such that you can acquire assets has gotten harder and harder.
See, but here's the issue with this. With investing, you're going to be compounded. Your returns are going to grow more returns because you're getting more returns. Wages don't work like that. You're not going to get wages on wages on wages. And that, I think comparing the S&P 500 with the average wage, I see that as having no bearing. And I'm saying this unbiased. Like, I have really no skin in the game on this. I'm not trying to defend anybody here. I'm 34 years old. I'm in this exact demographic that he's talking about here. And I just don't see how comparing the S&P 500 with wages has any relevance whatsoever. It's really tough on that one. That's a bit of a stretch. It makes a point, a very shocking point, that investments have done so well and that wages have not kept up with investments. But like, if it were to track the S&P 500, like, people would be earning millions of dollars a year. Like at McDonald's. That doesn't make sense. Now, here's the other thing with compounding, by the way. It's so remarkable. It's mind-blowing when you really think about it. If you're able to save just $5 a day, just $5 a day, starting at the age of 18 years old, and you're able to invest that consistently at an average return of 8%, after 50 years, by the time you're 68 years old, you're going to have $1.2 million saved up. That's right, at 18 years old. If you just think of this for the next 50 years, $5 a day. That's it, $5 a day. You'll have $1.2 million. So if you're interested in something like that, our sponsor, Acorns, wants to help you do just that. And for those unfamiliar, they're an investing app that basically rounds up all of your purchases to the nearest dollar and then invests the difference on your behalf. I've been using them now for almost 6 years. I have almost $100,000 invested with them now through regular contributions. And for the month of May, they're willing to give you a $20 bonus when you sign up at acorns.com/Graham or use the link down below in the description to get started today. They're also going to give you your first month completely for free, and they allow you to set up automatic recurring deposits so that you can basically just set it and forget it, because small amounts like this really add up to a significant amount over time. It's just getting started. Like, once you get started, it's really out of sight, out of mind. You set it on autopilot and you forget about it. So if you're interested, like I said, there is that $20 bonus. It'll take you maybe like 5 minutes to sign up. It's pretty easy. You get to earn $20 in the process. Enjoy. And now let's get back to the video.
You know who doesn't need me or higher education? The top 10%. The whole point of higher ed is to give the unremarkables, i.e. yours truly, who was raised by a single immigrant mother, a shot of being remarkable.
Is it though? I really don't think that a college degree has any bearing in terms of your success as an individual or in the workplace. I know that might be unpopular because you look at people with college degrees, and yes, overall, they make more money than someone without a college degree. But if you look at the people who really apply themselves, who know what they want to do, who have a clear path, who are willing to take the risk and willing to make the sacrifice early on to make it happen, I think it's possible. I would like to believe that anybody has the shot at making a lot of money and being very successful and buying a house without a college degree. I don't think the college degree is a barrier to that.
Every year we transfer $1.4 trillion from a cohort that is increasingly doing less well to the cohort that is the wealthiest cohort in the history of this planet.
That's how Social Security works, though. They paid into it, too. Everyone pays into it, and they get out barely what they pay back. So the mindset is that, sure, you're paying into it now for the people who have been in it for a very long time, who are old, but by the time you're older, the newer generation is going to pay for you. I think it's a terrible system, but it's not fair to say that we're paying these rich people all this money from our own paychecks without also explaining that our kids are going to be paying us. It's just how the system has worked for, I believe it's almost like 100 years, a little less than 100 years. But listen, it's a crappy system. I would love if just you could manage your own money. Just opt out of Social Security and choose to do it yourself. I'd love that. It's not going to happen.
How is this happening? Because our representatives are in fact representative. Old people vote. Washington has become a cross between the land of the dead and the Golden Girls.
This is something I would love to have changed. I think we need more young people in public service, in Congress and the House. Really between the ages of, I would love to see 35 and 50. Maybe 30 and 50. Like that would be a good range to mix in. Obviously you have your experienced people. Now, I didn't call them old, experienced people. But then to have some younger minds that are there too, to maybe balance things out. Because I agree, the average age is old for a lot of public service. And it's not a glamorized industry by any means. So I think if we could get more younger people interested in that, that would be a net positive.
Oh, that's self-harm rates, which have exploded, especially among girls, since my colleague Jonathan Haidt pointed out it's really gone crazy since social went on mobile. What's the next one? Teens with depression. The next one, men and women not having sex.
All right, so let's look at this. So a lot of this, I think, honestly, is the effects of social media. You can see a lot of this starts to take place when Facebook starts getting more popular, Instagram starts taking off. MySpace, it's too small at the time to really make a noticeable effect, and it was pretty limited in terms of what you could do with it. For those that remember the MySpace days, those are fun. I honestly think a lot of this is just spending way too much time on your phones, comparing your lives with other people, seeing the highlight reels of other people, feeling inadequate in comparison, spending more time on these social media platforms, resulting in you not meeting other people, not having real connections in person. And so all of this kind of makes sense. I think social media, as great as it could be, is also equally harmful. And it's something that people have to learn to regulate and use responsibly.
The industrial food complex wants to addict you to shitty, fatty food so they can hand you over to the industrial diabetes complex. We should not romanticize obesity. You're not finding your fucking truth. You're finding diabetes.
Oh, people don't know if they should laugh or clap. You could hear people so uncomfortable. My gosh. That's what makes this so good, is his ability to speak about topics that no one is really talking about, articulate it in a very effective manner, and just everyone is uncomfortable here, and I'm here for it.
We need to eliminate the capital gains tax deduction. When did we decide that the money that capital earns is more noble than the money that sweat earns? Shouldn't it be flipped?
No, because you're taxed on the money to begin with. So imagine this. Imagine you're working at $20 an hour. After tax, you're taking home $15. You invest that $15. You want to get taxed the same as though you're taxed earning with money that you're already taxed on? It would disincentivize investment, that the country is built on investment. The country is built on taking our money, giving it to others to be able to use and expand and grow from. Now, I'm not saying the capital gains needs to be 0 or 15 or 20. It could be 25. But taxing it the same as labor is not the same because investment carries risk. Investment also decreases in value over time thanks to inflation. If I work an hour, I'm guaranteed that rate. If I invest my money, I'm not guaranteed a profit on that money at all. And if I hold that investment for 10 years, how much of that is going to be worth less in 10 years thanks to inflation? You have to tax lower. That's the reality of it as well.
Break up big tech. We have monopolies that are incurring greater and greater costs on every small business and parents because, again, see above, our representatives don't understand these technologies. We need to age gate social media. There's absolutely no reason anyone under the age of 16 should ever be on social media.
Yeah, that one I tend to agree with. Okay? We agree 100% on that. I think it's incredibly harmful for people. Like, I don't know how I'd ever feel having kids and have them on social media at like the age of 8 or like 10 or like 13. I'd be terrified. I wouldn't want that. It screws with your mind, I think, before you're able to process and understand the complexities of like what it's doing to your brain.
I augur the question that I hope has more veracity than it did 17 minutes and 24 seconds ago. And that's the following question. Do we love our children? My name is Scott Galloway. I teach at NYU, and I appreciate your time.
Absolutely incredible. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments section. Obviously, I'm trying to be a bit of a contrarian here and provide more context and nuance than he's able to get within 18 minutes, which on each and every one of these subjects, I'm sure someone could go in depth for like an hour talking about it. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. As always, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done that already. And like I mentioned earlier, feel free to get a $20 bonus when you sign up at acorns.com/Graham with the link down below in the description. That bonus goes away in less than 30 days. So if you're interested in that, in less time than it took you to watch the video, you could earn $20. So enjoy. Thank you so much, and until next time.